Hey everybody, David here. I've always wanted to make a video on Oud fragrances, considering how big of a part of my fragrance journey they've been. I'm going to try to keep this video positive and go over some of my favorites, mostly focusing on ones that I own. I could easily make a long rant video about all of my issues with fragrance houses and how they market their Oud scents, as almost none contain the real thing, nor smell like it, instead using synthetic replacements. But that doesn't stop them from charging consumers high prices for their interpretations and sometimes being outright deceptive. There are some nice smelling niche and even designer fragrances out there that have Oud in the name, but many, if not most of them, smell nothing like the real thing. A prime example of this would be Creed's Royal Oud. It's a very enjoyable scent, but it doesn't really smell anything like Oud. I generally like Oud fragrances that smell as close to the pure oil as possible, or at least have it as a prominent part of the fragrance base with other notes incorporated. And those are the ones I want to talk about today. While I do enjoy the often used note combination of rose and Oud, it's not my favorite style. As I've mentioned in my last collection video, I live in a hot and dry climate, and for me, the mostly dry, woody, spicy fragrances do really well for me year-round. So I've got some sitting here in front of us, and let's just go through them, starting on the left and working our way to the right. So first off, we've got Epic Man from Amouage. I would consider that one a dry, woody fragrance with incense and smoke, pink pepper, and various spices. I would kind of call that a beginner niche Oud fragrance. A few other ones that I would classify similarly would be Ford Oud Wood, and then the one that is not a niche fragrance, but I would still classify it as such with these others, would be YSL M7 Oud Absolu. So moving on, the second one there on the left, that's Slumberhouse Vikt. It's a woody fragrance, but then also very oily, with some balsamic notes and almost like a tree sap and green. So for me, that one, the mental image of that one would be you going into this dark, mysterious forest, and you drill a hole into this giant, enchanted-looking tree, and out pours this green, sappy, syrupy-like substance, and that's what Slumberhouse Vikt is going to smell like. So next one that I've got for you is going to be from Guerlain, and that is Songe d'un Bois d'été. So this one's also very dry, and it is Oud, myrrh, and saffron are the main players in that one. It has some kind of just elegance a little bit more to it than perhaps these other ones. Perhaps a little bit of that Guerlain that they talk about from that house. There's, it's just definitely a little bit something elegant and French about it that it's hard to put my finger on. That one's a really nice one. And then next is coming from the Xerjoff Oud Stars line, and that one's Gao. So Gao's notes are Oud, cypriol oil, various resins. It's very heavy on saffron, and it's also very dry. So that one is if you've read about Oud fragrances, they have a medicinal quality, almost smell like Band-Aids, if you've ever heard that said before. Gao is that style of Oud. It's not animalic in my opinion, but it does have a very medicinal quality. Next, Xerjoff Zafar, which is also from the Oud Stars line. Now this one is animalic. This one is barnyard, blue cheese. It's very stanky, tart, peppery. I looked it up, and Zafar means victory in Arabic. And it is certainly a victory if you can learn to enjoy that one. This is, of all the ones in front of you, the closest to the real oud oil, pure oud oil that you can maybe get your hands on, with one exception. I'll talk about that one in a minute. And then the last one at the end, we've got Labo Oud 27. This one has civet in it, so it's going to be very animalic. Woods, of course. Saffron, incense. Ambergris, musk. And I would just say that one is semi-sweet. It does have some sweetness to it. So those are the ones I currently own. There are others that I would purchase maybe at some point. And other ones that I could recommend to you. Those would be Frederic Malle, the Night. That one is maybe actually contains real oud oil in it. It is close to Zafar, but perhaps even more luxurious smelling, and maybe even more animalic. Problem with that one is I believe it costs about $1,000 for a bottle, which is pretty crazy. I have Gao and I have Zafar, but there are several others in the Oud Stars line. I haven't smelled all of them, but my favorites so far are the two that sit in front of you. They also make one called Mamluk, which is a honeyed sort of gourmand oud, which I think is a pretty interesting take. Of course, you've got the Montale line, which some of my recommended ones in there would be dark oud, oud musk, and then oud Cuir d'Arabie. I like Artisanal Ouds, which probably anything that I've discussed so far can be found on discount sites for a pretty good price. It is somewhat animalic and takes some time to get used to, but it's a quite enjoyable scent, and the price is pretty good on that one. Also enjoy Andy Towers' version, which is called Oud. And then the discontinued Dior Leather Oud, and I believe that Dior Oud Ispahan is still being made. So where do I go from here in my oud journey? Well, I certainly have enough to keep me occupied for a very long time. If I were going to do any more exploring with niche ouds, there are certainly some new ones out there that have come out in the last few years that I haven't got my nose on from the smaller companies. I think some of them are using actual organic cultivated oud in their fragrances, but some of them command a pretty high price. There's also more Middle Eastern fragrances that are made their way into the markets for, Europe and America, and I guess Australia probably too. But I might just skip right over all of that. I think if I'm probably going to spend and invest too much more money into oud fragrances, or let's just say oud, it would be going straight for the artisanal ouds, the actual oud oil, from say Ensar Oud or Agar Aura. It's quite expensive, but as those are the style that I like in the westernized ouds, the ones that sit in front of you, I think my natural progression from here would probably be to go straight to the real oils and make some of those purchases, or at least sample them in the future. So certainly leave comments below. Let me know what some of your favorite oud fragrances are. Please let me know if you have, if you have opinions on these, you can please leave those below. And if you have any other recommendations for me in the way of niche Western style ouds, please let me know those too. And if you have any other questions, you can drop that in the comments. Again, can't promise more videos in the future, but if you guys have anything specific that you want, you could also request that below. Talk to you guys later. Have a good day.